In the heart of the galaxy, a great union of alien species ruled the stars. This alliance, known as the Virex Concordance, believed it had mapped every world, solved every problem, and silenced every enemy. It had existed for centuries in peace, or so it thought. But far away from its shining cities and smooth politics, something ancient stirred, something forgotten, something human. In a quiet archive dome floating near the edge of known space, a young historian named Celtarix stared at a metal fragment no bigger than his hand. It didn't look special, just a dull, black piece of alloy. But when scanned, it whispered secrets, ancient data, fragments of messages, words that didn't belong in the Concordance language system. After months of study, Celtarix had finally cracked a portion of it. One line blinked on his screen. "They are still watching." His heart beat faster. He knew the old myths. The stories told in hushed tones of strange beings called humans who once walked the stars like giants, who fought with fury and vanished without a trace. Everyone laughed at those tales now. No records remained, no coordinates, no proof, just warnings. But Celtarix had found a coordinate path, a direction. He ran through the hallways of the archive, straight to the communications center. His assistant, a feathered being named Kari, looked up in surprise. "Cel? What is it?" "I found it," Celtarix said breathlessly. "A location. Beyond the Perseid expanse, I think. It's Earth." Kari blinked. "The human homeworld? That's just a legend. No one even knows if they were real." "I think they were. And if I'm right, we've been wrong for a very long time." Kari hesitated, then slowly nodded. "So, what do we do?" "We go." 3 weeks later, the research vessel Wayfarer's Light left orbit under cover of darkness. It carried only 5 crew members, including Celtarix, Kari, and a pilot named Drake, who didn't believe in myths, but was paid well to fly. Their path led them toward the Perseid expanse, a strange and silent region of space. Most ships avoided it. Maps called it unstable, full of dead stars and strange radiation. But Celtarix believed it was more than that. He believed someone had hidden something there, something big. As they entered the expanse, strange things began to happen. Lights flickered, scanners glitched, even time felt slower. But finally, they reached the final coordinate. There was nothing, there just black space. No planets, no signals, no stations. Drake sighed. "This is a waste." "No," Celtarix said firmly. "Scan deeper, use spectrum layers, try pulse imaging." Kari adjusted the controls. Then, her feathers lifted. With surprise, "There's something," she said. "A shape, big, just outside visual range. It's hiding." Suddenly the ship jolted. All lights turned red. The engines died. A voice filled the air. "Unknown vessel. You have entered restricted space. State your intent." The crew froze. The voice spoke perfect concordant standard, but with a strange tone. Calm, cold, not machine, not alive. Celtarix stepped forward. "We are explorers, scholars. We come in peace." Silence followed. Then the voice returned. "Identity confirmed. Celtarix, Virex citizen. No threat detected. Observation granted." Slowly, the systems returned. Lights flickered on. Engines rebooted. A new screen lit up, showing a hidden field of structures and satellites carefully cloaked. And beyond them, glowing in the darkness, a blue planet, covered in clouds, oceans, and Greenland. Beautiful. Alone. Earth. Tears filled Celtarix's eyes. "They're real," he whispered. Kari could only stare. The screen changed again. A symbol appeared, an eagle holding a planet in its claws surrounded by stars. Then a message. "Terran Defense Network. You are being observed. Return home." The ship turned itself slowly. The navigation system reactivated. They were being sent back. When they returned to concordant space, everything changed. Celtarix presented the footage before the council, the images, the voice, the symbol. The planet. Proof. Most were silent. Some laughed nervously. Others grew angry. One member stood. If this is true, then humans still exist, and they've been hiding. They're watching, Celtarix said, and they want us to know. Far away in the deep rooms of power, not everyone was calm. The Tarn Hierophants, a warrior faction within the Concordance, saw the news as a threat. Their leader, Chieftain Verax, slammed his fist on a steel table. Humans think they can scare us from the shadows? Let's see if their ghosts can bleed. He turned to his generals. Prepare the fleet. On a dark moon near the edge of the expanse, a single Terran satellite turned. Its lights blinked. It sent a signal home, and far beyond, in a hidden system, surrounded by gravity fields, Earth received the message. Humanity had been silent, but now the silence was breaking, and soon the stars would remember what they had forgotten. Archivist Celtarix stood in the observation deck of the small research ship Wayfarer's Light, watching stars shift slowly past the transparent dome. The crew was quiet. Even the hum of the engines seemed softer, as if the ship itself was unsure about where it was going. They were heading into the Perseid Expanse, a dark region of space avoided by most travelers. Navigation signals failed there. Ships vanished and nothing ever returned to the same. But Celtarix was not afraid. He was excited. In his hands he held an ancient metal shard. It looked unimportant, dull and cracked, but it carried data older than the Concordance itself. He had decrypted a small part of it. Coordinates. A single word. Terra. The others called it madness. Some even laughed. Humans were myths. War stories told to frighten children. No records remained of where Earth was. The Concordance believed they had either destroyed themselves or never existed. But Celtarix believed. The ship reached the final point in the coordinates. On every screen, space looked empty, just blackness and a scattering of stars. Nothing. Strange, no signals, no light, not even radiation. Prepare long-range scan, Celtarix ordered. Try deep spectrum imaging. The pilot, a reptilian creature named Dreg, tapped the controls. Sir, there's something weird. The sensors are bouncing. Define bouncing, Celtarix said, stepping closer. Dreg frowned. It's like the scan is hitting something, but the return signal is silent. Celtarix's eyes widened. He adjusted the view and changed the wavelength. Slowly, shapes began to appear, sharp lines hidden behind a distortion field. Large floating objects perfectly still, covered in reflective plating. Space around them shimmered faintly. Then something moved. Just a flicker. A shadow across the screen. Is that a ship? Whispered Drake. Before anyone could answer, the lights in the control room dimmed. Every system froze. The engines died. The air became still. And then, a voice. Calm, cold, spoken in perfect concordant standard. You do not belong here. Identify yourself. Celtarix felt his throat tighten. We are explorers, he replied. We come in peace. I am Archivist Celtarix of the Virex Concordance. There was silence. The ship remained frozen. Then the voice returned. Accessing known Concordance databases. Celtarix, civilian, non-military. No known hostilities. Access conditionally granted. Suddenly, the systems flickered back on. Screens lit up. The engines restarted, but the ship was held still by an invisible force. A new image appeared. On the main screen it was a planet, blue and white, green continents, swirling clouds, peaceful and alive. Earth, but orbiting it were hundreds, thousands of dark, silent machines. Ships of many shapes, most unlike anything the Concordance had ever built. Some looked like sculptures, others like beasts. Some were as large as moons. Are we recording this? Celtarix asked quietly. Drake nodded, eyes wide. Suddenly, the image changed again. A logo appeared, a circle with a stylized eagle clutching Earth, surrounded by stars. Terran Defense Network online, foreign entity logged, Recording terminated. You may leave. The ship shuddered. The invisible grip released. The navigation system updated with a path out of the expanse. It's sending us home, Drake said, almost in disbelief. Then let's not make it change its mind, Celtarix replied. Back at the Concordance capital, Celtarix stood in front of a crowded hall. His crew's recordings were displayed on the high holoscreens. People gasped as the Terran ships appeared. Officials muttered nervously. A few shouted that it was fake. A council elder stood. You risked lives chasing myths. What proof do you have that this is not an illusion, a trap? Celtarix stepped forward. I don't have belief. I have data, coordinates, communications logs, sensor readings from technology beyond our science. They told us only one thing. Humans are real, and they are watching. Some in the hall laughed nervously. Others looked disturbed. Most didn't know what to say. But someone was listening. Far from the capital, on a hidden moon base, the Tarn Hierophants watched the broadcast. The Tarn were a proud, militaristic race, bitter over their decline in concordance politics. Their leader, Chieftain Verax, smiled as the images played. They hid from us, he said. They think they can scare us. Let's see how strong their ghosts really are. His generals bowed. Ready the fleet, Verax said. We are going to wake the myth. Celtarix sat alone in his quarters, watching the recording again. The moment Earth had appeared still sent shivers down his spine. He wasn't sure what the Terrans wanted. They hadn't attacked. They hadn't threatened. They only revealed themselves enough to be seen and remembered. But one thing was certain. The age of myths was over, and the age of answers had begun. The Tarn assault fleet moved quietly through space. 60 warships, black and heavy, shaped like iron blades. Their engines gave off no light. Their weapons were charged. Inside each ship, soldiers prepared for battle, confident and proud. They believed the humans were just ancient stories. Powerful maybe, but long gone. If they still existed, they would be soft, weak, afraid to fight. Chieftain Verax, the leader of the Tarn, stood on the bridge of his flagship. He looked at the star, map glowing in front of him. The destination was marked, a system called Sol. This is the heart of the myth, Verax growled. If we strike it, the story ends. His officers cheered, but not all were sure. General Merrick, his second-in-command, stepped closer. Chieftain, what if the archivist's report is true? What if the humans are not like us? Verax laughed. That's exactly why we go. Let's see what legends bleed like. As the Tarn fleet passed into the Perseid expanse, the ship's instruments began to flicker. Radar scans returned strange patterns. Communication between ships became slow and broken. Some screens turned black and refused to restart. At first, the officers thought it was just the interference. The expanse had always been a quiet, unstable place. But then, something changed. One ship at the back of the fleet, the Blade of Valor, suddenly disappeared from all scanners. No explosion, no signal, just gone. Commander of the Blade, respond! Merrick barked through the channel. Silence. Then another ship vanished, and another. The fleet slowed. Fear spread through the crew. Unknown anomaly ahead. A Tarn pilot shouted, Something is at warping space around us. Verax slammed his fist on the control table. Keep moving, spread formation, prepare weapons. But it was too late. In a flash of white-blue light, a human warship appeared in the center of the fleet. It was silent, smooth, dark as the void, but with lights that shimmered like stars. No weapons were visible, no crew could be seen. And yet, it radiated power. It hovered for just a moment. Then every Tarn ship went dark. All at once. Engines died. Lights flickered out. Even emergency systems failed. Inside the ships, soldiers floated in silence, confused and weightless. Gravity was gone. Weapons would not fire. Doors refused to open. It was as if the entire fleet had been frozen. And then, through the darkness, came a voice. You were warned. Across the galaxy, in the Concordance capital, alarms rang in the military chambers. Every sensor station in the outer systems picked up the same thing. A massive energy surge in the Perseid expanse, and then complete silence. The Tarn fleet was gone. Not destroyed, just missing. The Concordance Council met. In panic, holo displays showed fragments of intercepted transmissions, sudden blackouts, and ghost signals. "The humans are real," said Elder Tharn of the Xylari. "And they are not hiding anymore." Some demanded peace, others wanted more ships sent to investigate. But one thing was now clear. The galaxy was not alone. Far away, Celtarix sat in his study, watching the news unfold. His discovery had changed everything, but he felt no joy. Only a quiet fear. A soft sound filled the room, like wind. He turned, and standing near the window was a glowing figure. A woman, tall and calm, made of light and data. Her eyes were kind but unreadable. "Don't be afraid," she said. "I am Kira. I am a human-made AI. I was told to find you." Celtarix swallowed. "Why me?" "Because you listened," Kira replied. "You searched for truth. And now, the galaxy needs truth." She showed him images, ships hiding in dark space, satellites recording concordance movements, human machines watching every part of the galaxy silently. "We never left," she said. "We chose to disappear, to let others grow. But the concordance did not grow. It grew soft, slow, corrupt. And now?" Celtarix asked. Kira's voice became serious. "Now the silence is over. The humans are returning, not to rule, but to remind the stars who they are." Back on Earth, in a deep vault under the Antarctic Defense Dome, Admiral Elise Ron stood before a giant display showing the destroyed Tarn fleet. She turned to her officers. "Status? All Tarn ships disabled. No deaths," said her lieutenant. "Their systems are frozen, and they've been relocated to safe distance. We left a message." Elise nodded. "Let the galaxy fear if they must, but not bleed." She stared at the stars above. "It's time we returned. Not as conquerors, as balance." In the outer colonies, rumors spread fast. Children whispered about human warships shaped like shadows. Pilots swore they saw a single fighter take down a whole squadron without firing a shot. Merchants started painting the old Terran symbol on their cargo, hoping it meant safety. And deep in the dark places of the galaxy, old enemies stirred. Some feared what was coming. Others saw opportunity. But one truth could no longer be denied. The humans were real, and they were awake. The Tarn fleet floated helpless in deep space. Dozens of warships, once feared across the stars, now drifted like metal coffins, powerless, silent, forgotten. Their systems had been shut down by an unseen force. Engines cold, weapons useless. Crews alive but shaken. From the outside, the fleet looked peaceful, but inside, fear had taken root. Back on the Concordance homeworld, people gathered in large halls and open squares, watching the news unfold on giant holoscreens. The headline was simple: Tarn fleet erased. Terran message received. No one understood how it had happened. No one could explain it. Celtarix, the alien historian who had started this journey, stood before the Virex Council once more. This time, the chamber was silent. No laughter, no mocking smiles. He placed a data chip on the central table. "This," he said, "was transmitted across every known communication channel at the same moment." The council elder activated the device. A simple message appeared. "We do not seek war, but we do not run from it. We do not forget. We do not sleep. We remember everything. Terran command." A soft hum followed. Not a voice, but a sound that echoed across the room like thunder held back. Many recognized it. It was the sound from the old legends. Terran war engines. Far beyond concordant space, in a hidden system surrounded by artificial gravity fields, the humans gathered. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was the heart of a silent empire. One built in the shadows not through conquest but through patience. Dozens of worlds once unknown now formed the Terran silent chain, a hidden alliance of colonies, research planets, and defense outposts. Their cities were buried under oceans, carved into asteroids or cloaked from light. Above Earth, the Terran fleet stood ready. Ships of all sizes and designs, old and new, circled in silence. Some were sleek and beautiful, like sculptures. Others were rough, built for war. They had one thing in common. They were alive. Not alive like humans, but aware. Each Terran ship was guided by powerful AIs, some older than the Concordance itself. They had names: Whisper, Iron Will, Starlace, Judgment, and they remembered everything. Admiral Elise Ron walked through the control chamber of the Shipsol's Edge, the largest vessel in the fleet. The walls pulsed with quiet light. Screens showed every Concordance planet, every signal, every ship. "Report," she said. "Observers report Concordance movement has slowed. Political divisions rising," said her officer. "Some support our presence, others fear invasion." Elise nodded. "Let them fear if it wakes them." She turned to the center of the chamber where a tall hologram glowed. It was Kira, the human AI who had first contacted Celtarix. "Status of the Tarn?" Elise asked. Kira replied, "They are drifting, alive, unharmed, but they now know their power is not absolute." "And the Council?" Elise asked. Kira's eyes narrowed slightly. "Divided, but one voice is rising above the rest. Celtarix." Elise smiled faintly. "Good. Then he may be the key." Back in the Concordance capital, Celtarix sat alone in a quiet room, reading thousands of messages sent from across the galaxy. Some praised him, some called him a traitor, others begged for answers. A soft chime rang. He looked up. The wall, screen glowed, and Kira appeared. "You've become a symbol," she said. "I never wanted that," Celtarix replied. "But you earned it," Kira said. "You were the first to believe, the first to see." He nodded slowly. "Why now? Why did humans wait for so long?" Kira answered with a calm voice. "Because we hoped. We hoped the galaxy would grow, would build a future, but instead it repeated its past. We watched, we listened, and when you remembered us, we returned." Celtarix leaned forward. "Will there be war?" Kira's image flickered just for a moment. "We do not start wars," she said, "but we end them." That night, in 10 different systems, Terran ships appeared silently in orbit over Concordance worlds. They did not fire. They did not land. They simply hovered above cities, casting long shadows across buildings, glowing softly in the dark sky. People ran into the streets, staring upward. Some dropped to their knees. Some cheered. Children pointed, eyes wide with wonder. Each ship projected a message, spoken in every known language. "We are not your rulers. We are not your enemies. We are," the reminder, "grow, learn, change, or we will return, not as watchers but as warnings." In the outer colonies, where law had become thin and piracy was common, Terran drones entered quietly. Without firing a shot, they shut down illegal operations, disarmed warlords, and erased slave networks. Their justice was swift and merciful. No killing, no cruelty, only silence. And then they left, leaving behind supplies, clean water, and working machines. People began to call them by many names: the Old Flame, the Starborn, the Watchers. But the message was always the same. You were never alone. In hidden corners of the galaxy, leaders met in secret. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to hide. But a few, very few, understood the truth. Humanity had not returned to take power. They had returned to hold up a mirror. And now the galaxy had to decide what it saw in its reflection. For years, the skies above Concordance worlds had been quiet, peaceful. The kind of peace that comes from believing nothing stronger exists. But that peace ended when the Terran fleet arrived. They came without warning. No war horns, no battle cries, Just the slow, steady arrival of massive, silent ships that moved like they owned the stars. They didn't attack. They didn't even speak. They just hovered above cities, government centers, military bases. Their presence said everything. We are watching. On the capital world Elix Prime, crowds gathered in the streets. All traffic had stopped. Everyone looked up at the sky where a giant Terran vessel floated like a black moon. The ship had no name written on it, no visible weapons. Yet it made every other ship near it look small, old, and helpless. Some people cheered, calling them saviors. Others ran indoors, afraid of what might come next. And in the council hall, the highest leaders of the Concordance stood in silence, watching a live feed of the scene. Then, the ship spoke. Its voice echoed through the entire planet. Calm, powerful. We are the Terran Collective. We do not come to conquer. We come to warn. The voice paused. Your galaxy has become lazy, divided, rotten. We see everything. We remember what you forgot. Justice, truth, and consequence. Inside the council hall, the members began to argue. This is a threat, one shouted. They're trying to control us. No, said Elder Tharn. They didn't fire. They didn't invade. They're showing power, but not violence. Seltarik stood near the window, looking at the ship above the clouds. They want us to change, he said softly. Not for them, for ourselves. On Earth, Admiral Elise Ron stood before the World Assembly. Behind her was a clear screen showing the current positions of Terran ships across concordant space. One in every major system, all perfectly still. She spoke firmly, her voice calm but sharp. We gave the galaxy time. We waited in silence, hoping they would rise. Instead, they sank. She pointed to the images. They built governments of greed, armies of pride, histories of lies. So now we remind them, not with war, with presence, with truth. An ambassador asked, and if they attack us? Elise didn't blink. Then we end it, fast and clean. In the outer worlds, pirates and warlords began to flee. No one told them to leave, but they knew. Stories spread quickly. A pirate base in Sector 19 found all its weapons disabled overnight. A warlord's personal ship disappeared in mid-flight, only to be returned, parked safely, with all its weapons melted. On one planet, a child spoke with a Terran drone and asked for clean water. The next day, new wells were dug by machines. Then the drones left. People began painting Terran symbols on their homes and businesses. Not out of fear, but hope. Hope that someone, somewhere, was finally watching the Watchers. Meanwhile, on the Tarn homeworld, Chieftain Verax raged in his war hall. His fleet had been humiliated, his people mocked, and now a Terran ship floated above his capital, casting a cold shadow over the royal dome. They dare to look down on us? He shouted. They didn't even fire. They think we are beneath. Notice. His generals stood quiet. None wanted to admit the truth. They were outmatched. Verax raised his fist. We must strike back. But before he could speak again, a voice echoed through the hall. Deep, ancient, human. You struck first. We responded without blood. Strike again and you will not speak afterward. The voice disappeared. Verax sat down slowly, for the first time looking unsure. Back on Elix Prime, Seltarix walked through the city streets. People came to him now. Some asked questions, some gave thanks. Others simply wanted to know what would happen next. He didn't have all the answers. But he knew one thing. Humanity was no longer a story. They were here. Real. Powerful. But restrained. They could burn planets. But they chose not to. They could rule. But they stayed in orbit. They didn't demand anything. They didn't offer gifts. They only said, do better. One night, a young Concordance child looked up at the Terran ship above her city and asked her father, are they heroes? The father, an old pilot, thought for a moment. No, he said. They're not heroes. They're the warning that comes before a second chance. And across the stars, as the Terran ships hovered silently in the skies of hundreds of worlds, one shared message played in every language. We are the mirror you forgot, the fire you left behind. The sky remembers. The past returns, the choice is yours. The galaxy had changed. Once humans were just old stories, whispers in war songs, shadows in forgotten books. But now, they were real. Their ships hung in the sky, their voices echoed across worlds, and their presence could no longer be denied. Across the Concordance, every world watched the skies, some in fear, some in awe, most in silence. On the Concordance capital, Elix Prime, the great cities were no longer loud with politics and trade. They had grown quiet, thoughtful. People spoke in softer voices. They looked upward more often. The massive Terran ship still hovered above them, unmoving like a watchful guardian or a warning. In schools, children began to learn the truth about humans. Not just the myths, but the real history. The wars before the Concordance, the lost Earth Empire, the decision to disappear, to wait, and now, their return. Inside the council hall, Celtarix stood before the leaders again. This time, they listened, carefully. There is no invasion, he said. There is no demand. The humans came only to show us what we became. The High Chancellor asked, "Do you speak for them now?" "No," Celtarix answered. "They speak for themselves, but I've seen them. I believe them." Another council member asked, "What do they want us to do?" Celtarix looked around the room, then spoke clearly. "To choose, to fix what we broke, to become more than we are." On a quiet Terran observation station orbiting a red gas giant, Admiral Elise Ron stood at the window, arms behind her back. Kira, the AI, appeared beside her. "The Concordance is shaken," Kira said, "but not broken." "They'll argue," Ron said. "Some will try to fight. Others will lie to their people. But many will change. I believe that." "You still have hope?" Kira asked. Elise smiled softly. "Humans always do." Back on Elix Prime, something new happened. The Terran ship slowly began to descend. It moved gently with no sound until it hovered just above the council tower. Then, for the first time, a Terran lander detached and glided toward the city square. Crowds gathered. Security officers froze, unsure what to do. The ship opened, and a single figure walked out. A human. She was tall, calm, wearing dark gray armor that shimmered like starlight. Her face was kind but unreadable. Her presence filled the air with quiet power. She walked forward without fear. The people parted silently. At the steps of the council tower, she stopped. "I am Envoy Marin Solari," she said. "I come with no weapons, only words." The council doors opened, and for the first time in thousands of years, a human walked into the heart of galactic power. Envoy Marin stood before the council, alone, unarmed. "You have seen what we are," she said. "But what matters now is what you become." The Chancellor asked, "Are you here to rule us?" "No," she answered. "We are not here to take control. We are here to hold a mirror and to offer help, if asked." Another member asked, "Then why show your strength?" "Because the galaxy listens best when it is afraid," she replied. "Now it must learn to listen when it is free." Celtarix stepped forward. "What do you offer us?" Marin looked at him kindly. "Memory, technology, peace, but earned, not given. We will not carry your burden, but we will no longer let you forget us." In the months that followed, everything changed. The Tarn hierarchy, once proud and aggressive, stepped back from war. They signed peace treaties and opened their records for the first time in a century. Their leaders, after the shock of their lost fleet, began to understand the meaning of restraint. Old rivalries between systems cooled. Trade became fairer. Laws were revised. Hidden crimes were exposed. Everywhere, people asked the same question. If the humans are watching, What kind of world do we want them to see? Terran ships did not stay forever. One by one, they left orbit, silent as they came. But their absence was louder than their arrival. They left behind only one thing: a beacon, placed on every major world. It glowed gently with Terran symbols and a message in every language. You are not alone. We are not gods. But we are not gone. We will return, if needed. Remember who you are. In a classroom on a small mining world, a child looked up at the sky and asked her teacher, "Were the humans ever real?" The teacher smiled. "They are." "Will they come back?" "That depends," the teacher said, "on whether we deserve their return." On Earth, far beneath the ice of Antarctica, deep vaults held sleeping machines, old warships, stasis soldiers, data AIs from the first age of humanity. They remained untouched, silent, but not forgotten. They would not wake unless the stars called again, because humans do not conquer. They prepare. And they remember. Epilogue. In the quiet corners of the galaxy, stories began once more. But they were different now. Not tales of angry monsters from forgotten Earth. Not warnings of fire and chaos. But stories of watchers, of protectors, of myths made flesh. And across the stars, when children asked what happened when the skies roared, their parents would say, that was the day the past came back. Not to destroy us, but to ask if we were ready for the future.